Funerals flatten people. Whatever edges you've sharpened for years get dulled the moment you step into a room where everyone is pretending to be solemn together. That's what I felt walking into the chapel, pressed suit, practiced calm, grief folded neatly where anger used to live. My father's photo stood near the front, a younger version of him, smiling the way he never did once we grew up. I nodded to it and took a seat near the aisle, not front row, not hiding either. 6 years earlier, I would have sat differently. Tensed, scanning, ready. That version of me didn't exist anymore. I was listening to the soft rustle of people settling when the doors opened again. You can feel confidence enter a room before you see it. My brother walked in like this was an event he'd already won. Tailored suit, casual smirk. And beside him, her hand in his, was the woman I once thought I'd marry. Time didn't rewind. It didn't rush forward either. It just paused long enough for recognition to land. He caught my eye immediately. Of course he did. Some guys just finish first, he said, not bothering to lower his voice. A few heads turned. Not enough to make a scene. Just enough for the comment to do what it was meant to do. 6 years ago, that sentence would have gutted me. I would have replayed it for months, measured my worth against his timing, his choices, his appetite for taking things that weren't his. But standing there, in a room built for endings, all I felt was distance. I looked at him, not at her, not at their joined hands, just at him. "You still working that office job?" I asked. It wasn't sharp. It wasn't loud. It didn't even sound particularly clever. It was a neutral question delivered with the same tone you'd use asking about the weather. He blinked. Once, then laughed, too quickly. "Yeah," he said. "Good job. Stable." "Right," I replied and turned back toward the front. That should have been the end of it, but reality has a way of arriving late, then staying. A low murmur rippled through the room near the entrance. I didn't turn at first. I didn't need to. The sound carried recognition, not surprise. Then the chapel doors closed softly. I glanced back. The limo driver had already stepped aside, and my wife was walking in alone. She wore black, simple and unshowy. No dramatic entrance, no deliberate pause. She scanned the room the way she always did, calm, observant, already clocking where I was sitting. Her presence didn't announce itself. It reorganized the space. I stood, because that's what I always do when she walks toward me. She smiled, small and familiar, and took the seat beside me, resting her hand on my arm like this was exactly where she'd planned to be. I didn't look at my brother then. I didn't need to. But I felt it, the sudden shift. The recalibration. The moment where the story he'd been telling himself stopped fitting the evidence in front of him. People noticed her, not because she was flashy, but because she carried herself like someone used to rooms paying attention. A few colleagues from my work recognized her and nodded. A distant relative leaned over to whisper something to another. My brother's laughter died halfway through whatever he'd been saying. I turned, finally. He was staring. Not at me. At her. At the recognition landing too late to be useful. His grip on her hand loosened. Not dramatically. Just enough to betray the thought he couldn't hide. She noticed, of course she did. And gently, politely, she stepped away from him. No words, no confrontation. Just a quiet correction. The service began. My father's life was spoken into tidy paragraphs. Achievements. Sacrifices. Flaws softened by time. I listened without emotion demanding anything from me. Grief sat where it belonged, not as fuel, just as fact. During the final hymn, I felt my brother shift beside her, restless. He leaned in once, whispered something. She nodded without looking at him. When it ended, people stood, filed out, spoke in murmurs. Outside, the sky was overcast, undecided. My brother approached me near the steps. He looked smaller there, not diminished, just exposed. "So," he said, "didn't know you were married." I waited a beat too long before answering, not to punish him. To check myself. "Yeah," I said. "A while now." "She seems impressive," he added, the word catching in his mouth. "She is," I said. He nodded. Once, no comeback, no joke. The old script had run out. Behind me, my wife rested a hand on my back, light and steady. "I should get going," my brother said. He gestured vaguely toward the parking lot. toward her, toward the past he still carried like proof of something. "Take care," I said. And I meant it. Not generously, just accurately. As he walked away, I realized something that surprised me. I didn't feel like I'd won. There was no surge, no satisfaction, no sense of finally being seen. What I felt was quieter than that, relief. Not because he finally understood, but because I didn't need him to. We left shortly after. The limo door closed. The engine hummed. My wife leaned her head against the seat and exhaled. "You okay?" she asked. "Yeah," I said. And this time, it wasn't a performance. The rivalry that once defined me hadn't ended in a dramatic showdown. It hadn't required an apology or a confession or even forgiveness. It dissolved the way old habits do, when you grow past the version of yourself that needed them. Some guys finish first. Others realize they stopped racing a long time ago.